Kelsey, if you're ready, Kelsey, thank you. I'll let you know Kelsey is at her other job, so in the event she doesn't respond, I'll take care of letting people in. Okay, I'm going to call to order a regular meeting of the Willington Board of Selectmen. Today is Tuesday, January 18th, and it's 6:30 p.m. If you will join me in a Pledge of Allegiance. I have limited space here. Dance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I apologize, that is tough to do in this very virtual setting. So thank you both for understanding why we went completely virtual with the rise in COVID cases in the relatively almost no existence of the public at our meetings, except for us. I thought it was just best to stay virtual for right now. So we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is approval of minutes from our December 20th regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve as written.
Okay, motion by Liza. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jim. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Motion carries. All right, we have a couple of folks on the line. We are at present to speak. If there is anyone present to speak, I ask you to state your name for the record. Limit yourself to 2 minutes, and you should have the ability to unmute yourself. Is there anyone present to speak?
Hi.
Hi, Kathy. Go ahead.
Kathy Demers, Conservation Commission. I just wanted to thank Troy and the Public Works staff for opening up the parking lot on Mason Road that's adjacent to the trails. And they did a great job. So now they can continue to plow them through the winter and encourage residents to get out and get on the trails through the winter. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else present to speak? All right, seeing none, there will be an opportunity at the end of the meeting if you so choose. So move on to correspondence. You will see a list of correspondence in your packet. And among them is a letter we received from Troop C. They've had another change in the head at Troop C. And so now the new commanding officer is Lieutenant Begley. So I did have an opportunity to meet him earlier this month to welcome him to Troop C and talk about working coordinated with the town of Willington, as we don't have our own police department or resident state trooper. We work directly with them. So I look forward to working with them and continuing lines of communication. All right, first Selectmen's report. I don't have anything new on the steep grant for the Old Town Hall septic. The school building committee, they will meet tomorrow. They'll have a presentation on the enrollment study that was done by Dr. Peter Prouda. And so we look forward to that. The RFP for the OPM, the Owner's Project Manager, closed on Friday. And we'll be moving on that. I anticipate probably our first meeting in February in that direction. The Loxit project, I'm happy to say we received our commitment to fund from CROG, which is a positive direction here, and we'll be going out to bid on the design phase soon. So we did appropriate dollars for the design portion of the project, and so we'll be going out to bid on that shortly. The TOB, the basement project, Service Master should be out next week. Public Works took care of taking anything that was on the floor in the dirt portion in all of the area that they're going to clean. And so some stuff was thrown away that there was all kinds of things, old paint containers, etc. there. They disposed of what didn't need to be kept, old pallets. And then you'll notice there's a container. If you come by the town office building, there's a large metal container out there, sort of a pod that belongs to Parks and Rec. And so we've borrowed that to keep the documents that had been in the basement are in there until they can be sorted through, determined what was damaged beyond salvage, and then take care of containing what we can keep and put back in the basement in the appropriate storage capacity once the project is done. So Service Master should be out next week to do the actual cleaning, and then within a couple of weeks, we will be ready for Jake's basement to come in and pour the concrete. The truck leases, I'm happy to say that all is complete with the lease for the 3 public works vehicles. The dump truck, which is our newest truck we're using for plowing as well, was delivered on January 3rd. It was actually able to be used in the first big snowstorm of the year. So it's all painted and lettered, and you'll see out there, Lucian is driving that new truck. So his truck is a spare and actually had to be used in the last storm. So we were fortunate enough to have a spare available to us. The F-450 is at Hartford Truck now, waiting for something on the body that needs to be complete. And so we're hoping by the end of the month that will be done and delivered. And then we're still waiting for the F-350. They're still saying late February or March on that truck. So I'll update you as we go. So I want to thank Donna for all her work on completing the lease agreement and getting that done. As far as the Arpa Commission, this commission has not met. The ordinance became effective January 4th. And so tonight, later on the agenda, you'll see we'll begin to appoint folks and anticipate the first meeting of that commission very shortly. We're looking at next week. Union negotiations, we're just waiting for the contract to go from our attorney and the union's representation, and to then be ratified by both the union. And once it's done by the union, then this board will meet to do the same. I'm hoping at our next meeting, I was hoping for this meeting. A COVID-19 update. So I think you're well aware, cases are on the rise across the state. It has been a very busy COVID month, not exactly what we expected going into the winter, but here we are again. Our latest report as of January 12th, last Wednesday, we have 61% fully vaccinated. So only slightly more than our last reporting. Since our December meeting, we've had 42 more fully vaccinated individuals in town. For COVID cases, we now stand at 549 total cases with 64 current probables. So that's an increase of 143 cases since our December 20th meeting in town. And I suspect that number is actually larger with the number of home test kits in people's hands. Those, unless they get an additional PCR test that's reported to DPH, those at-home kits are not reported. So we are still in the red alert across the state, as are 168 total communities. There's one town that's holding out there with few numbers reported. And our case rate is 123, excuse me. Our case rate is 123 cases per 100,000. And that was as of last Thursday. Just for information's sake, our case rate on December 20th was 54.8. So we had 101 cases in the last 2 weeks. So that's significant. In addition, you know, I want to encourage everyone to consider being vaccinated. And COVID has had a direct impact now on the town, and specifically staff at the town, at the TOB and outward. So at this point, almost every department has been affected by having staff out due to illness or exposures. So, you know, we've not seen transmission within our staff, which is good. So if we've had positive cases, they've been individual. We're not seeing it being transmitted in the workplace. So I believe our precautions in the workplace are working, and folks are masking, which is good. So again, urging folks, if you're 5 years old or older, to consider being vaccinated. We did have 2 distributions of home test kits. The state provided at-home test kits and N95 masks. Those were held on January 2nd and January 9th. So the state made them available originally, hoping to get them out before New Year's Eve when people were planning to gather. There were issues in the state obtaining those kits. On New Year's, I will tell you, on New Year's Day, I myself went out to New Britain to pick up our supply of them. Once we had been told for sure what we were getting, it was less than we had originally been told. We picked those up and quickly put together a distribution to residents on January 2nd. So the state made, between the 2 distributions, a total of 766 test kits available to our residents. And prior to the public distribution of those, we did set aside a supply of kits for first responders, daycares in town, some for our staff in the event we need them, and for our most vulnerable, our senior population. So our Human Services Department does have access to kits if she had individuals who weren't able to get tests or able to get to a test distribution. So those were things that the state asked specifically, and our Demis region coordinator made sure that we knew to set aside kits for those things, and making sure each of those affected areas had test kits. Since then, the schools received additional supplies for students and for staff. So we gave them a very limited supply, and then they got a larger supply from the state. And then the remainder of those kits were given out to residents in a limited capacity. The first distribution, we allowed 2 per individual per car, and the second we dropped it down to 1 per car, and there are 2 kits in every box. And while we understand the demand was high, we certainly didn't have enough for our 5,500 residents, and they were only available to Willington residents. So we did turn away individuals who came from other towns. We asked for ID, and I will say our residents were fantastic about it. So it was very well organized and run fantastic. I have to thank our emergency management director and our partners at Willington Fire Department number 1 and at Willington Hill Fire Department for their assistance and efforts in the process. So between them and their volunteers, we were able to get these into the hands of folks onto chilly, rainy Sundays. But they helped. Today, late this afternoon, we learned that we could ask for a new allotment of masks and tests. So we put in a request. Don't know if it will be met. There is a limited supply. Unlike before, they asked us to tell them how many we wanted. So we put in an amount, and we'll cross our fingers to see what we get. If we receive them this Friday, as directed, then we will work on putting together another distribution, but we won't plan anything until we know for sure that we're actually getting them once we pick them up. So we learned our lesson along with most other towns after the first distribution snafu. Any questions about COVID or comments? I know I threw a lot of information at you there. It's been a very trying month since we last saw you. I will tell you that more than half of my workday is taken up with dealing with COVID like issues. So if I don't get to something that you're asking for or you've gotten to us, know that Kelsey and I are working hard, but COVID is taking up a significant amount of our time. Holidays throwing me off. Sunday, Center School had a pipe burst and a unit ventilator damaged in the process that led to flooding in the lower level of Center School. It impacted 6 classrooms in the hallway. And then additionally, there was a leak not connected to the first one in the gym area. So the superintendent's office is working with KERMA, our insurance provider, on cleaning up the damage. I believe they only had to cancel preschool classes. That was the classroom that was the most impacted where the leak happened. And it was a pipe that was on an outside wall. So the boiler was working and functioning with the extreme temperatures we had in our old building. With those pipes against an outside wall like that, probably not as much insulation as we would use now. And then they had some heat issues in the gym. And so they worked with, MCOR came out yesterday to work on that. So they, I believe, gotten those fixed. And as of right now, according to Superintendent Stevens' report, it looks like 3 classrooms will probably have to have the tile replaced in them. So that's significant work in those classrooms. So the Board of Ed will be working on this. I just wanted to make you aware, as you know, they're still town facilities. All right, Public Works. You'll see Troy is on, but he's not to report tonight. So I will give you his report. Public Works, besides snow, which takes up a significant amount of their time. Since we last met, they've been working on, when it wasn't snowing, roadside mowing. They still take out the trash at River Road Park. They've been washing and waxing the dump trucks in between snowstorms. They've patched several holes throughout the town. They've worked on our dirt roads. They backbladed and cleared the trees on Mason Road. It's the parking lot for the trail that you heard Kathy Demers speak of earlier. So there used to be a tree and a stone wall in the front. So they took that down so they had access to clean and plow that area so that folks can get out there and use that in the winter months. I will tell you and let residents know that in a large storm, that will be one of the last things that's done. It's on the bottom of the priority list, and they'll keep up with it as much as they can during the storm, but it may be something that will come in the hours and days after a storm. But it worked really well, so folks can still get out there. And then plowed, shoveled, salted and sanded during and after storms. They cleaned out the basement at the town office building to prepare for the mold remediation and concrete pouring. They had to fix a boom on the M&B mower. They got the new dump truck. It's been lettered and prepped for use, actually been used. They've collected water samples at the transfer station and the garage for the MS4 reporting. They've been continually working and repairing the current fleet of vehicles. And as a side note, all of the facilities we had the septics pumped out at the senior center, senior housing, and town office building. So that is Troy's report. Any comments about Public Works?
Any issues with the salt? I know in some years we just it's a commodity. Some years we have delivery issues and all that.
Not as of yet, and we were supposed to get a salt delivery today. So no, none yet, Jim. So let's keep our fingers crossed. As with everything these days, I won't be surprised when something becomes a supply issue. But salt is the one thing we haven't heard issue of as of yet. All right. We have no old business, so I'll move on to new business. Item A, tax refunds. So I will move to refund CoreLogic an overpayment in the amount of $2,502.97.
Second.
Seconded by Selectman Bulick. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Next item, appointments to the American Rescue Plan Commission. This is a commission that was created at town meeting in our new ordinance. And if you recall, there are 11 named positions. So we have appointments for 9 of the 11, the 2 remaining, which are Board of Finance and the Parks and Rec Commission. I anticipate coming soon. Board of Finance meets on Thursday, and the Rec Commission will meet again on the 31st. So I'll encourage the names that they put forward to us to participate in the meetings. They just won't be able to vote until such time as the Board of Selectmen appoints them. but I will again encourage them to take part in the conversations. So I will start. I'll move to appoint Robin Campbell, Town Clerk, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has completed.
Second.
Motion made, seconded by Liza. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll move. Do you each have the suggested motions in front of you? Okay. I skipped the first one for obvious reasons. So feel free to jump in. I'll move to appoint Stuart Cobb, Emergency Management Director, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has completed.
I'll second.
Seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I'll move to appoint Donna Latinsik, Business Manager, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has completed.
Second.
Seconded by Liza. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I move to appoint Troy Sposato, Director of Public Works, as regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the commission has completed.
Second.
Seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I move to appoint Jenny Arpin, Human Services Director, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has completed.
Second.
Seconded by Liza. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I move to appoint Mike D'Amato, Zoning Agent, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has completed.
Second.
Seconded by Jim. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I move to appoint Samantha Hills, a current member of the Wellington Economic Development Commission, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has completed.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Liza. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
I'll move to appoint Erica Wyszynski, First Select Woman, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has been completed.
Second.
Seconded by Jim. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And we did receive word late this afternoon, so I will add one more. I move to appoint Tom Smith, a current member of the Wellington Public Health Community, as a regular member of the Town of Wellington American Rescue Plan Act Commission, effective immediately, expiring once the charge of the committee has completed. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Liza. So for discussion, the two fire chiefs got together and discussed and came up with a member from to represent both fire departments and our EMS. So I applaud them on working together to bring forth someone from the public health community. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, again, so that leaves 2 of the 11 members still to be appointed, and I anticipate we should have names for our February 7th meeting. But once those committees have met and they've determined an individual, I will encourage them to attend any meeting that happens before their actual appointment. So I want to thank all of those members now serving on this committee, and I look forward to seeing what we can do. I will add that the final rule has come out. It's effective April 1st, 2022, but we've been given guidance that we can follow the final rule now. So there's a little bit more information on that, and we'll be sharing that, share that with both of you so that you're aware, and the new Arpa Commission will be getting all of that information to review as we move forward and look to spend the $1.7 million. All right. Any other new business?
Just going back to this
Yes.
commission, all the people that were nominated are more than qualified and capable. I wasn't part of the original composition of this board, but I would have seen some like residents or something like that. I'm glad the business community is represented by the Economic Development Commission, but I would have liked to seen a couple of residents on there, or at least one. That's just my comments.
Okay, and I do encourage this board. So, I sit as the current first select woman, but I represent the board. And I know, Jim, you weren't here when we discussed this as a board, but I imagine your feelings are the same. It was important to the board as we put together that draft of the commission ordinance that we really work to make sure we can get access to some of these funds to our businesses and individuals. So that will be something that I know is important to EDC on the business side. And so I'll be advocating for some program for that. But if there is a program or a use of these dollars that this board wants to put forward, I absolutely encourage either of you to come forward with any of those ideas, and we can move on them, and I can put those forth to the Arpa Commission. All right, so it's important that that all of our voices are heard. All right, present to speak. If there
I just wanted to follow up on that real quick, and the other thing, and I think we have talked about it a couple of times before, but there are a few of the positions that by definition are required to be residents. So members of the Wellington Public Health community, they just have dual roles, right? They're residents, but they're also residents with a certain knowledge in either being a part of the EDC. You have to be a Wellington resident to be a part of the EDC. You have to be a Wellington resident to be a part of the, the Wellington, what's considered the Wellington Public Health community. So there are multiple positions built in that are required to be Wellington residents. They just also represent other perspectives as well. So there's multiple Wellington residents on the commission by design.
I agree. And to follow up with that, Liza, our staff is incredibly committed to making sure the needs of the residents in Wellington are met. I look at our human services director, not a Wellington resident, but the needs of our residents, certainly during this pandemic, are at the forefront of all of the decisions that she makes and the work that she does. So I have no doubt that these individuals will be working to make sure that Wellington and its residents are best served by these dollars. All right, any more on this topic? Okay, nope. So now I'll move on to present to speak. If there is anyone on the line with us and wishes to speak, I encourage you. You can unmute yourself. You do not have to be on camera. I ask you to identify yourself for the record and limit your comments to 2 minutes. Is there anyone present to speak? There's lots of visitors, they're just quiet. All right, I will move on. Out of the Selectmen's office is always happy to hear any of your comments or concerns. Good and welfare. We did receive a December report from Troop C. However, there was an error in reporting. It reported 0 matters, which I would love to I would love to report to you, but it's just not true. So what I can tell you is we hope the reporting works itself out in January, but they did share with me that there were 12 accidents, 4 DWIs, 230 non-reportable matters, and 5 arrests made in December. So not as thorough a report as we normally get, and hope that glitch is fixed. Mobile food share will be at the town office building on Wednesday, this Wednesday, the 19th, and then next one, 2 weeks from now on February 2nd, 11 to 11:30. I'll remind folks that it's every other Wednesday, and those off Wednesdays, the seniors are out there with breads, assorted breads and sweets. And, you know, we're now into the heart of winter, and it's pretty bitter cold out there. And I really, really want to thank the committed volunteers that come out every week, whether it be to distribute bread or bread and help with our food share. So without them, these programs wouldn't be as effective as they are. So thank them for braving the cold and the rain. If you can, please, please, please continue to support our restaurants and small businesses. They still need our support. CIP and Board of Finance, especially as budget season is upon us, are gearing up and getting busy, and they're still both in need of a recording secretary. So if anyone is interested in that position, it does pay $20 an hour, and contact the Selectmen's office if interested. All right, everyone's favorite, second installment of property taxes and supplemental motor vehicle taxes are due by the end of business on February 1st or postmarked on February 1st. So it actually has to have a postmark on it. So some of those, if you do the bill payments directly from your bank and the envelope comes after February 1st, but it's not postmarked, it won't count before February 1st. So make sure folks plan accordingly. And we are open in person. So people can either leave it in the Dropbox, put it in the mail, or come in and pay in person. So whichever way works for you. But with that, I will remind folks that masks are required in all town buildings during this certainly COVID outbreak and regardless of vaccination status. So help us keep our staff and visitors healthy and safe. And I want to congratulate 2 awardees in town. They received Cultural Fund Operating Support Grants. So the EC CHAP received $6,800 and Willington Historical Society was granted an award of $5,400. So congratulations to them. And that's all I have currently for good and welfare. Do either of you have anything to share?
I did receive some communication from Representative Nuccio, and she did extend an offer to help with anybody who's having difficulty working with the state or anybody having trouble with the grant application or the state's not being responsive. I think she sent that out not only on the government side, but any residents as well. If people are having difficulty in their day-to-day business, she's willing to help with that.
Great. Thank you. All right, seeing no other business. Oh, I will add one thing, and I report out to you, and I failed to report in my COVID update. Since our last meeting, we did have one COVID-related death reported in Willington. Those names are not shared with us. It is just a data point. So I certainly send my sympathies to that one family affected, as well as any of our Willington residents that we've lost in this past year. So our hearts and thoughts go out to all of those who have lost a loved one, COVID or not. But COVID related wise, we did lose one individual resident. So just know that we're thinking of all of our families who've lost a loved one. All right, seeing no other business, I will wish you all warmth as we, again, are in the heart of winter here, and move to adjourn at 7:05.
Second.
Very good. Second.
Second, and this is a non-debatable matter. All those in favor?
Aye.
No one ever says no to this. Have a good night, folks. Stay warm.
Good night.
Good night.